fuels. The problem is that fossil fuels are the cheapest energy. And as long as they appear to the cheapest to the user, we're going to keep using them. So the obvious solution is to include their cost to society. We shouldn't be subsidizing fossil fuels. We should include the costs of air pollution and water pollution and climate change by putting a gradually rising fee on fossil fuels. It's easy to collect. There are a small number of domestic mines in ports of entry where you would, at the first sale, collect this fee on oil, gas, and coal. If you then give that money to the public, an equal amount to all legal residents, so the person who does better than average in limiting his fossil fuel use will make money, then it will be a big incentive for entrepreneurs to develop clean energies and for people to pay attention to what they're buying. They don't even have to just look at the price of things on the shelf. Those things that use more fossil fuels will tend to become more expensive. So it's using the market in a very simple way, and it stimulates the economy, increases GNP, and it's probably the only viable international approach, because if the United States would have a carbon fee, it could and would put a border duty on products from countries that do not have an equivalent carbon fee, which would be a huge incentive for the other countries to have their own carbon fee so that they can collect the money themselves. And economists agree that would work. And the alternative, just begging each of 190 countries to reduce their emissions, just doesn't work. We found that out already after the Kyoto Protocol. There are actually a group of conservatives that came out recently, James Baker III, George Shultz, and some younger ones also, and some economists who came out in favor of exactly what I described, a carbon fee and dividend, with 100% of the money going to legal residents, an equal amount to each one. And that would allow shrinking the size of government. You'd have less reliance on regulations, although you still need some regulations, but you'd be basically letting the market help you find a solution. But now, what is the response to that in Congress? Well, the Republicans say nothing, not one of them has come out in favor of a carbon fee and dividend, because they get so much money from the fossil fuel industry. And those who believe in the reality of climate change are afraid to say anything, because they know they will get hammered by the right-wing think tanks, and so they say nothing. In the case of the Democrats, I met with when John Kerry was a senator in 2009. I met with him and argued for this carbon fee and dividend. And after a long time, he had to admit, well, that would be better. But he says, I can't get one vote for that because that's not the way So instead, they had this Waxman-Markey cap and trade bill, which was 3,000 pages long and had giveaways to every lobbyist who could raise his arm and get his requirement stapled into the law. Well, it didn't pass. But I point out that, okay, Richard Gephardt, for example, was the leader of the Democrats in the House. When he retired, his first year, he got $120,000 per quarter from Peabody Coal, so almost $500,000 a year from one source. That's the way our senators and representatives. They feel if they get elected, they have the right to be rich. They will be lobbyists after they stop working. And Hillary Clinton sees nothing wrong with taking $250,000 for a single talk to the big banks. And of course, the big banks were the ones gaining the most from this cap and trade. If you have a trade system, trillions of dollars in energy, then the banks have to be involved in that, and they have skilled trading units. They make a lot of money. Bernie Sanders really liked this idea for a carbon fee and dividend, so he introduced a bill exactly the way we proposed, except that he would only give 60% of the money to the people. The rest he would take for good programs, social programs but in that case it won't work, because the public will not let the price of gasoline at the pump go up if they are not getting the resources to deal with that. So anyway, but there's one organization, Citizens Climate Lobby, which is growing rapidly, has now more than 50,000 members and more than 300 chapters, and they are advocating this carbon fee and dividend, and they've doubled in size each year of the last few years. So they're substantial, they are polite, they visit Congress people and try to persuade them about this. So that's, I think, a source of some optimism. But in order to put some pressure on the government so that they have to do something, we have 21 young people and I have filed a lawsuit against the federal government for violating the constitutional rights of young people, and asking the courts to require, the courts can't tell the government exactly what to do, but they can say that you're violating the rights of young people and you need to reduce emissions one way or another at a rate that allows climate to be stabilized. And the science for that legal case is described in this paper, which is now under review at Earth System Dynamics, and I hope within a few weeks will be published, will be accepted for publication. But the fundamental basis for the lawsuit is very clear in both the Declaration of Independence and in the Constitution. And in particular, the Fifth Amendment, which is equal protection of the laws and due process. You can't deprive any citizens of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. And that's what we're doing by continuing. We're depriving young people and future generations of property by continuing to emit the fossil fuels.